What's up, guys? It's Frankie, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to scale a digital marketing agency. And for those of you guys who are new, this is different than what most people think it is. What most people think scaling is just like spending more money on Facebook ads and things like that, but it's really not. By the way, for those of you guys who don't know me, my name's Frankie Finn, and I am the author of the book Beyond the Agency Box since 2007. I've built 3 different agencies up to 100 plus simultaneous clients, and I've helped a whole bunch of people worldwide, hundreds of them, in fact, to live this whole agency, beach, laptop lifestyle. So let's get into how to scale. All right, I kind of blew up the surprise a little bit. It's a windy day down here, as you can tell, down at Magote. Those are my peeps down there going for a walk. I don't know if you guys can see them in the distance. And I'll tell you, when it comes to scaling, most people think it is simply selling more. And I'll tell you, if you've passed like $10,000, $20,000 a month, it is very unlikely that your problem with scaling is selling. In fact, a lot of people think the solution is just to get people to buy your shit.
Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy. So here's my number, now buy my shit.
I'll tell you, so there's an awesome book, by the way. I don't know if you guys have ever read Eli Goldratt, who is the best known for his work called The Theory of Constraints. He also wrote another book that's very similar called The Goal. And in The Goal, he gives an example of this factory that has interdependent parts. And there's like machine A that can crank out 1,000 parts an hour. There's machine B that can crank out 2,000. There's machine C that can crank out 500. And there's machine D that can crank out 50,000. Well, in that case, by the way, I think I said C, the machine that only puts out 500 parts a minute, that is going to constrain the whole system. Nothing is going to go faster than part C. Now, what ends up happening in an agency is that when you get into this, your delivery will become your opposition to scaling. And that means either you got to have systems and processes and document it and make it extra lean and have people and places to do the things. By the way, just want to show you guys kind of epic looking sunset coming up. But more than likely, what it means is your combination of onboarding and getting the technical and actually delivering the service will be your constraint. So the first thing you should do is actually focus on trimming the old fat. I'll give you an example of this. So Kyle in our mastermind just hit his first $100,000 a month a couple months ago. And he had gotten to like, I don't know, I think like 50,000 a month or something like that. And he was having all these delivery problems, as will typically happen when you start getting to 50,000 a month. And what he was doing all this SEO for people. Now, as part of the SEO, what he would find is they would give him the website, and often the website sucked, right? Like from an SEO perspective, like it's not properly optimized and all these things. So he would have to clean it up, and often it was just easier to build him a new website. So he would build a whole new website. Now, trying to do this at scale got more and more difficult. And what we realized is when we sat and talked about it, I said, well, what's actually producing the results? And he said, well, mostly the phone's ringing from the Google My Business listing. And I said, well, why don't we start there? And all of a sudden, it was all the pieces he could eliminate. And it became a much more scalable system by the very things that he got rid of. By the way, this is the city of La Paz over there on the other side. I don't know if you can see that in the distance. We are down at Magote. So what ends up happening if you don't optimize the right constraints, most people think it's a sales problem. Just spend more on the Facebook ads, and very rarely is that true, because you have to look at what is the time and energy sink, because almost always you can make more money if you can plug the time and energy leaks. Otherwise, you end up looking like the Bobs.
They ask, why couldn't the customers just take them directly to the software people, huh?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because engineers are not good at dealing with customers.
So you physically take the specs from the customer?
Well, no, my secretary does that, or they're faxed.
So then you must physically bring them to the software people.
Well, no. Yeah, I mean, sometimes.
What would you say you do here?
So those are the old 3 things. I guess I didn't mention them all, but first, trim the fat and look for the weakest link in the chain. And what you do is when you find the constraint, if you work the constraint, that is when quantum leap forward happened. In our most recent agency, the constraint for us for a lot of years was sales calls. And by just eliminating sales calls and being able to close and chat, we no longer have that constraint. We can just send people a video, they check it out, we answer a question or 2 in chat, we close them like that. A lot less moving pieces, and therefore we're able to scale better without having giant sales teams and things like that. Second thing after you remove the constraint is you need operating procedures, which are standard SOPs, as they're called. Standard operating procedures, SOPs, I should say. And that is basically just a document full of detailed instructions, or a video full of detailed instructions. And thing number 3 is some good people to execute on those things. You do those 3 things where you trim the fat and just focus on the 80-20, what produce the results. You get a detailed list of instructions how to do that, and you bring in people. What you'll find is suddenly your agency can deliver value without you having to be the one to do everything. So hope that's helpful to you guys. I would love to hear, by the way, just in below, your best scaling tip or your experience with scaling and where you guys are at and where you're looking to go. It's all good news, by the way. There's no wrong answers to the question. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure to subscribe. And otherwise, may the force be with you.